Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters across our nation. It's great to be in your living room again tonight to discuss the nation's concerns, what's going on in our political arena, what's going on in our country. Today has been a very chaotic day, and I'll describe that in a few minutes. But I want to start off with a little story my dad used to tell me. I spent many years on the Esquibo coast, going to the Pomeroon River as a child. And, one day he said that there were two gentlemen that lived in Abrams Creek in the Pomeroon River. They paddled their canoe to Charity Stelling, and they drank rum all night till about maybe 1 o'clock in the morning. They had tied their canoe to the Stelling. About 1 o'clock they swaggered and drunken. They got in their canoe and they started to paddle home. And Abrams Creek, I think, probably would take a few hours, 2-3 hours to get with a canoe paddling. And after a while, they start to sober up. Dawn was coming, the sun was coming up, and they want to know, well, wait, why are they not home yet? What they realized, they had never untied the canoe. They were still at the dock. This government was elected in 2015. And they got into a boat. It was tied to a dock, and they never untied it. And today we have a chaotic government. What happened today? 4 ministers had to resign, both their parliamentary seat and their ministry. We have a president that is out of the country. God bless his soul. He's going to go for more treatment, and I hope he does well on this trip. But we have a government that is adrift. Now the boat is loose. There's no one paddling it. They are just all over the place. 4 ministers resigned today. Chaotic. And why did that happen? Had they followed the law at December 21st after that vote, had they followed the law, none of this would have happened. We don't know where our country will be over the next few weeks, few months, as we struggle with a chaotic government, within a government that is adrift. Policies that should be carried out, implemented, is now uncertain. We have a government that is overstepped and is in government that they probably shouldn't be. We have one more court ruling to go through in the next few weeks. But the president has to make some tough decisions. Had he followed the Constitution on December 21st, call election within the 3-month period, put Guyana, continue the democracy that we are so accustomed to in Guyana, instead of this dictatorial approach, bullyism approach, taking things to the courts, that really the Constitution was very clear. The Speaker ruled that the majority had happened, that what should have taken place. And now we have a government that is rudderless. The paddles have fallen overboard. They have to they should not be going back to Parliament. Now they're going to probably swear in 4 more parliamentarians on the 11th and put them where to do what. It is very, very important that we all pay attention to these issues that are going on in our nation. These are very concerning, very alarming, that we now have a government that is adrift. Those 2 gentlemen, when they woke up that morning and realized that they did not untie that boat, and they were sitting tied to Charity Stelling, that's where the government, in 4 years, what have they done? And we have gone through this many times. You've heard many commentators, many politicians debate at the rum shops, debate in schools, debate at university. What has the government done in the 4 years? I saw a discussion earlier today on Facebook where someone said, well, it's only 4 years. What happened in 20 years prior to that? Well, the difference is, when this government took over, they took over an economy that was stable, had a growth rate of 4+% over, a decade, had a healthy reserve, have money in this treasury, had a significant plan and vision, had funded projects. So they took over, not that canoe that you had to paddle with, they took over a cruise ship that was on a path of growth and development in our nation. They had to just drive it a little faster, maybe develop a little more, and we would have been 4 years better today. Now we're 4 years behind. And today, with the resignation of 4 key ministries: business, foreign affairs, education, public service, not education, but public service, you've got to wonder what happens next. Is the president the captain of this ship? I don't know. I don't think so. I personally don't think so. I think the fact that we have not been able to move our nation forward, we have not been able to reverse some of the negativity over the last 4 years. You know, after 4 years, you complain that the treasury was empty, but yet you passed four budgets of multi-billion dollars over the last 4 years. And you're going to complain that you started with an empty treasury? Many were concerned that we had a drug economy. We had money laundering. Not a single person have gone to jail for money laundering or drug. Where is that money? If that money was somewhere and there were corruption, you would have found that after 4 years. So you've got to wonder, who is driving this ship? Are we in danger of chaos over the next few months? Why did the president not call election based on the Constitution? Well, we have allowed it. I think the opposition party have been very, very patient, peaceful. They have, discussed and debated and suggested and advised the president where they stand and what is next for Guyana. And really, what we should have is election. This delaying tactics over the last few months is alarming. And I'll take a few phone calls tonight because I want to hear your views. But why is it alarming? You see, and there I see my colleague James Bond posted a Facebook discussion earlier as I came into the studio that says, why is the PPP so concerned about house-to-house registration? I'm going to tell you why. Our constitutional right says if you're registered, you're on the list, you're eligible to vote, you're not dead, then you're permanent on that list. There's no need to take me off that list. If I'm not dead, I'm on that list. You know, many Guyanese, especially over the spring and summer of North America, for example, will travel out of Guyana. Some of them spend 2-3 months with their families in New York, in Toronto, London. And that's the same time GCOM is planning to do a house-to-house registration. You know what they're planning to do is deregistration. Why do I call it deregistration? You're now traveling to visit your family. You're gone from, April, May, June, July, August, whatever time frame the house-to-house registration is going to take place. They come to your house, you're not home. Bam. You're gone. You're no longer on the list. You come home, 2 months later there's elections, you go to the polling station, and you can't vote. That's deregistration. So it's not that the PPP is against house-to-house registration. We have a valid list. We've had continuous registration for the longest while. Everyone named that is on the list should be on the list. If you are dead, GPO needs to take your name off the list. But apart from that, you have a right to vote. So we're not afraid of house-to-house registration. We're afraid of what that house-to-house registration is planning to do. It's to take your name off the list. You better be home. And the only way, you've got to cancel your vacation. You've got to worry if your son or daughter is in Cuba or in the United States or in England studying for a degree. They went away for a couple of years. They're coming back home to help develop their nation. They're gone. Their name is currently on the list. Bam. Their name is off the list because they were not home when GCOM came. What we're saying is, if you're worried about any flaws in that list, then at polling day, what do you do at polling day? You make make sure, GCOM, parties, political parties, make sure you have the right methods, the right procedures, the right checks and balances in place in order for you to ensure no duplication of votes. The ink got to be right. My ID has to be correct. You have to make sure my name is on the list. And you put things in place to make sure, if there was someone or people trying to skullduggery of voting, you find that out to the day of the polls. So that's what we're asking. We're asking to keep validating the list, ensure that every one of us have a democratic right to vote. And I don't want anyone to have to cancel their vacations over the summer. Some of them are going to go see their grandkids in New York. Many of these folks have stayed in Guyana while their other families have maybe migrated, or again spending a few extra months doing shopping, business. And a businessman, for example, in China, buying goods to come back to Regent Street. They go to his house today and he's not home, you're off the list. He or she may not know until the day of poll that their name was taken off the list. If you take 10 names off the list of every polling station, what that damage that can do to our numbers on polling day, we are very concerned. And that's the issue. We don't want deregistration. We want GCOM to do their job. They need to be ready for elections. Always, they're being paid to do that. And that is where, as citizens, the concern that we have is valid. We've got to make sure that GCOM don't do things outside of the law. And we're going to do our best to represent the people of our country, to represent the nation, and to raise these concerns at all levels, through the legal system, through the population as a whole, the media. We've got to make sure we don't have deregistration. So, Mr. Bond, as you look at why we are concerned, that's the reason we are concerned. The fact is, we have a constitutional right to be on that list. And you do not have that constitutional right to tell me I've got to stay home just to make sure somebody can come and make sure that I am home. I don't want to be home all the time. I want to go travel around Guyana, travel around, visit some families as we all want to do over the next couple of months. So let's pay attention to this. Let's ensure that GCOM don't do a registration process that disenfranchises us from being able to exercise our constitutional right to vote. Going back to today's events, with the fact that we have no government, we have a government that is, one, overstepped their bounds, in power past the constitutional date of March 21st, staying on, heading behind the court system, hidden behind GCOM, and now they realize they were wrong. They were wrong. They went to court challenging Mr. Charndas' vote as a dual citizen and realized they were dual citizen themselves. How crazy does that sound? You have now punched that hole in the little boat. Now the boat is sinking. You punched the hole yourself. And that's where we've got to pay more attention, because Guyana is at the crossroads. We were on the path of development in 2015. We had a healthy economy. We had a full treasury. We had significant economic growth that was decades in the making. A government that took a bankrupt economy in 1992, brought democracy back, fought for changes, got a debt write-off in areas, put money and investment in where we could make a difference in our nation, invested in new industries, ensured the bauxite industry was stabilized back earlier on in the 90s and the early 2000s. If bauxite wasn't stabilized, you would have had that fight a couple weeks ago where workers were fighting for work, fighting to keep their job, labor issues. Bauxite would have already been gone, wiped out under the previous government before 1992. You've got the mining industry that was energized. We had Guyana Gold Fields coming in. We had other major mining companies coming in that created thousands of jobs, brought foreign reserves in foreign exchange in our country. That is what this government inherited in 2015. Now there's adrift. We have to make sure that we catch that rope, pull that boat back in, put a new captain at that helm, and ensure that Guyana gets back to a growth where we were going. And as we move forward post 2019 election, you should also, although we are so concerned today, we've got a vision. The PP Progressive Party has a vision to continue where it left off in 2015 with all of the infrastructure plans that were already in place, but also radically have to transform our economy once again. Imagine you're 4 years behind. You can't continue 2015 today. You've got to go back and fix everything that this government has stagnated. Many people are out of jobs. We have talked about this. Thousands of people out of work. The economy is stagnated. The private sector is complaining that the cumbersome taxes in businesses, in the mining industry, the individuals, your pocketbook, your GPL bill, your water bill, your taxes on medication. That is what reality has sunk in over the last 4 years. Why do you want to change? You know, there's a song that says, bring them back, bring the PPP back, because we have to ensure that Guyana once again get on that growth pattern, growth trend, to take our nation forward, not adrift. That minister is resigning, 4 of them today, probably some more probably will go over the next couple days. The president needs to understand that Guyana cannot continue adrifting. We don't need the deregistration process. We need elections called, and we need to be able to take the next decade and create that new opportunity that we all want and dream of. We finally is able to see a broader picture. Imagine Guyana was developed in the last decade prior to 2015 without oil money. New industries were there, many new jobs, many new housing were there. And what would happen as we move into an oil economy? And we look at cheaper energy. You know, I saw Ministry of Presidency today put out a news brief that says they're about to bring in electric public transportation. And a colleague sitting next to me says, I just had blackout today for a couple hours. How are we going to run electric public transportation? Must be driving on the road, or the electric transportation is moving along somewhere, and bam, blackout. You're stuck. You can't even fix the electric grid today. You don't have new initiatives to put an integrated energy plan. You want to bring in public transport, electric public transportation. They are really adrift. That hole in that boat is getting bigger. I'll take your calls as we go forward. I want to start taking your calls right now and listen to what your concerns are. And I have a few more issues. And this is a shorter program. It will end at 8:30, so there's not a lot of time for major discussion. Yes, hello, good night.
Good night. My concern is, why is it that the president just, accusing the president of so much things when we all know in PPP time we used to go on? You have to give the president a chance.
And I want you to stay on the line because I want to answer that question. Give him a chance. In 4 years, you give me 5 things that you believe the president has done that has continued to grow Couldn't answer the question. Continue to grow our economy. What are the 5 things? You know, when the government came in, they cleaned Georgetown up. And they said, wow, look what we have achieved. We've cleaned the city up. For 23 years, the PNC led City Hall. PNC had their own budget. They collected their own taxes. They owned City Hall for 23 years. PNC government took over. Wow, city is clean. What happened to the 23 years prior to you owning the city? So did government clean up the city? Did the PPP had anything to do why the city wasn't clean prior to 2015? Because that was a PNC-led City Hall. And look what is happening to our young PNC mayor today. They're fighting the young chap within their own party, not allowing him to do his work. That is not good governance. So for the caller, if you can tell me what are the 5 things the president has done that have changed your economy, that made your life better, then I want to hear those things, and I will give you why he hasn't done 0. No new initiative. They have exercised bad policies. They have implemented PPP projects that are not even functioning very well. An airport, for example, that has been rehabbed versus a newly built airport. I would personally, if you want, I will take and pay for transportation. You call me, leave a number in the station, I'll take you to the airport and show you what and where $150, $180 million was spent. And if you would put tiles like that in your house, or have that fungus, or have that smell in the sewer system for $180 million, you know, I may write you a check if I have it. I'll take your call. Hello, good evening.
Hi, good evening. Yeah, I want to make a contribution. This government said they are carried to court to change constitution and how we can't, but the court can be right to change the constitution.
If the court can change the constitution?
No, I want to the court to rewrite.
No, the court cannot rewrite the constitution. The court can help interpret the constitution. You know, but Parliament, the constitution is extremely clear. This issue that has transpired over the last couple months, it is the most clear constitution, you know, in terms of what has been said in the constitution. The framers of the constitution knew exactly what they were writing. If they had any concern whatsoever that there will be any misinterpretation, they would have put a number, for example, on what is a majority. They knew that 33 is the majority of 65. If they didn't believe that when they were writing that constitution, they would have put in, we had brilliant lawyers at the time, they would have put in 34 is a majority to pass a motion of that. They did not do that. Thanks for the call. You know, one other concern that I want to bring up also is we've had significant immigration issues over the last 2 years, 3 years. We have many Haitians coming into the country. We have many Venezuelans coming into the country. We don't know how they're being recorded. We don't know whether or not they are going to go on the list in the house-to-house registration. Those are concerns that we have. And a bigger issue, this week we did have a health scare in the interior. You know, if you travel, if you're migrating to another country, whether it's the Caribbean, whether it's the United States, whether it's England, Canada, you've got to make sure you have all the right shot records, all your vaccination, immunization before you enter into that country. We're bringing in people across the border, through the airports. No one is checking their immunization record. How is our healthcare system, which is already failing? There's no drugs in our hospital. There's no immunization in our hospital. You know, we see the minister today commissioned a nice boat in the Kukwani River, an ambulance boat, but there's no medication out there. Now we have the immigrants coming in, quite a lot of numbers, coming into our country. No one is checking their shot records. No one knows if they've been vaccinated with any of the flu shot or any of the required vaccination that needs to happen as you know, progress in life. And they're among all of us. we have a health break, we're in deep trouble. We don't have a healthcare system. You know, in 2015, in 2011, we'd had the PPP got money for a specialty hospital so that we can, you know, treat, you know, higher level care so people don't have to travel out of our country. APNU in Parliament disapproved that. From 2015 to 2019, no specialty hospital. The president still have to travel to Cuba for health care. Would you be able to travel to Cuba for health care? Had we done that specialty hospital, the president would have been right down the street at Ogle, where the hospital is going to be built, and would have got good treatment from good cancer doctors that would have been right here in Guyana. That was what development is about. So for the caller who said, give this president a chance, give this administration more time, for what? You tell me, for what? Hello?
Good night.
Good night.
I just sit down here in news, right? And I see they got, you know, when they come out to give registration, and if you refuse to put out your name, they say they're going to charge you and you'll have to pay 16,200 or something, 16,200 or something dollar fine, or 6 months in prison.
For what? What do you have to pay the fine for?
If you're put out your name and come to do house registration.
I am not aware of a fine at all, but something I'll look into.
16 News.
Okay.
Let's come over there.
Okay. Well, I mean, we've got to look at that. And you have a right to be on the list. You don't need to be going through that process every few years. You know, if you're 18 now and you're on that list, why do, as you grow 18 to 25 to 45 to 70, what happens to the 80-year-old, you know, that may be in a nursing home, maybe in bed, is not in, or maybe at another family house? They're not at their original address. How would that 80-year-old know that is living with their granddaughter, that from Myconi now living in Eccles? How would, when they go to that original address in Myconi, Auntie is not home. Auntie is living all the way in Eccles with her granddaughter. She's now off the list, cannot vote anymore. That's deregistration. And that's why the concern is so valid for all of us to pay attention to. Good evening.
Hi, Peter. Good evening. How are you?
Good, very well.
I'm looking at the program, but I have to mention something. I have two quick questions, right?
Okay.
I have to mention that when the coalition government took over in the election, when they win the election, right? Coalition, and they cleaned up the city, they did not spend much to clean the city. It's a private company, any private company versus them cleaning up the city.
Well, if you can name that private company that cleaned the city up, spending billions of dollars cleaning the city, I want to know that. Basically, I know there were contributions maybe. Same as the fact that people say, well, no, private sector built Durban Park. Billions of dollars went into Durban Park. If private sector built Durban Park, for example, why did the Auditor General said millions of dollars is missing? Not accountable for.
Okay, I'm not secure though, but I'm sure with the cleaning up of the city. It's a huge private company. I will not name it, but I know it's a huge company who assisted in cleaning up everything.
Well, why did the government take credit for cleaning up the city? I'm not disagreeing because I don't know completely all of the details. But the fact is the government said one of the achievements in the 2015 to 2019 is they clean up the city. When they had 23 years as a PNC government of City Hall to clean the city, they did not do that. They wanted the PPP administration to look bad. Okay.
If I'm working in the night and I'm not at home when these people come to register, if I'm working in the day and not at home, that means I would disfranchise to work.
You're off the list. You weren't home. You were not home.
If you rightly said, they got to put me in a restaurant, so once you have one identity you cannot go and vote for somebody else.
Yes.
I want to tell you, I think this is one of the best government that happened in the world. This I know myself. You know why? Because it created 30,000 jobs, so people are closing early as me. You are the best government in the world.
Thank you. I think that was a sarcastic statement. The best government that closed down the sugar estate, thousands of jobs, people out of work, and I think the caller was being sarcastic who said it's the best government. You know, when you're out of work, when you can't take care of your family, that is the hardest feeling that you know, you emotionally, you know, people don't want to go home. They look at the kids and want to know why they are able to get the next food on that table. That's a sad thing. I know we've come to a quick end of this program, Politics. It's real. It's among all of us. Pay attention. Don't sit on the sidelines. Don't sit just in your living room and debate it. Let's get our voices heard, and let's ensure that we look across the aisle. And if you can make that decision, what has happened in the last 4 years that continue the development of where the PPP left off, and you're satisfied that you're doing much better, you're doing great, Guyana is great, you will continue to vote for APNI. But if you're sitting there and one of your family members, you don't have a job, can't pay the bills, not seeing where the next paycheck is coming from, not understanding, you know, why Guyana cannot move forward, then you have a choice. The choice is to ensure this government boat sinks, in my early story, we get back the PPP ship and start riding Guyana to a development and a vision that we all want to see our children benefit from in the future. Thank you. God bless you. Good night.